The first sign that my girlfriend was living a double life was a casserole dish. Not the dramatic answer you were expecting, right? It wasn't lipstick on a collar or a random earring in our bed. It was a chipped white Pyrex baking dish and a blurry photo from a Facebook post I wasn't supposed to see. My name is Jenna Collins. I'm 30, a UX designer living in Chicago. I drink too much cold brew, have strong opinions about font choices, and until a few months ago, I honestly thought I'd finally cracked the code on love. I've been with Olivia Hayes for almost 2 years. She was 31, a nurse practitioner at an urgent care near Wicker Park, the kind of woman who left half-read novels stacked on every surface and could parallel park on the first try like it was nothing. She wore cuffed mom jeans and battered Converse, had a faded tattoo of a paper crane on her wrist, and made a lasagna so good that my friends would just happen to be in the neighborhood on the night she baked it. We met at a queer trivia night on a Tuesday in January. She slid into the empty seat across from me and argued passionately about whether Kristen Stewart counted as mainstream hot or gay hot. By the end of the night, I was gone for her. For almost 2 years, my life was divided into before Olivia and after Olivia. And then I found out there was a whole other timeline I didn't know about at all. A timeline where my girlfriend was somebody's straight fiancé. City life, hometown ghosts. When we first started dating, Olivia was upfront about one thing. Her family situation was complicated. She grew up in a small town in Indiana called Maple Grove, about 2.5 hours from Chicago. Think Applebee's, a Walmart, a high school with a huge football field, and not much else. According to her, her parents were old school religious. Her dad was a deacon at a church, and they didn't really get her life in the city. She never called them homophobic. She never said, "I'm not out to them." She just said, they wouldn't understand, and I filled in the rest. At first, it didn't feel weird. I'm a lesbian. I've been out since college. I've done the emotional labor of explaining myself to people who think being queer is a phase, or a rebellion, or a tragedy. I didn't want to push her to walk into that fire if she wasn't ready. So when she said things like, "I'm going home this weekend," "My mom's having surgery," or "My dad guilted me into coming back for some church thing," I nodded, kissed her forehead, and sent her off with Tupperware of leftovers and a hug. We lived in a third-floor walk-up in Logan Square, with exposed brick, mismatched IKEA furniture, and a balcony that shook a little when the brown line rolled past. On weeknights, we watched trash TV and argued about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. On Saturdays, we hit the farmer's market, bought way too many peaches, and pretended we had our lives fully together. She kept her Maple Grove life neatly zipped up in a compartment I didn't touch. The only time I saw a crack was one night when we were in bed, my head on her chest, listening to the apartment radiator hiss like it was possessed. My phone lit up with a call from my mom. I ignored it, and Olivia said softly, "You're close with her, huh?" "Mostly," I said. "She sends me passive-aggressive texts about when I'm going to move back to Ohio and give her a granddog." She laughed, but her eyes were somewhere far away. "What?" I nudged her. She hesitated, then said, "Sometimes I think it would have been easier if I'd just stayed there. Married one of the guys from high school, had kids, done the whole thing. At least everybody would know the script." The word married made my chest feel tight in a way I couldn't name. "But you didn't," I said. "You're here." "Yeah," she said. "I'm here." She kissed me then, and the conversation dissolved into hands and heat and the comfort of her body. But the sentence stuck in my brain like a splinter. Married one of the guys from high school. At the time, I thought she was just talking about a life she'd almost had. I didn't realize she was also talking about a life she was still living. 2. The notification. The day everything cracked open was a Sunday in late September, one of those Midwestern days where it's chilly in the shade but hot in the sun, and nobody knows what to wear. Olivia was in Maple Grove, helping with a church fundraiser, which I honestly thought was hilarious. My very gay girlfriend, manning a bake sale for a church that probably preached that people like us were sinful. The irony was thick enough to spread on toast. I was alone in the apartment, wearing an oversized Northwestern hoodie that wasn't even from my school, drinking cold brew, and working on a freelance project for a friend's startup. The Bears were losing in the background on TV, as tradition required. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. You got tagged in a photo. I frowned, wiped my hands on my sweatpants, and picked it up. It was Facebook, which I barely used except for the occasional birthday reminder and stalking people from high school. Being tagged at all was weird. I tapped the notification. The photo was a group shot, a long table covered in white tablecloths, cluttered with gift bags and pastel wrapping paper. A banner in the back read, "She said yes." Standing dead center was Olivia. She was wearing a pale blue dress I'd never seen before, hair curled, makeup done in a soft, glowy way I'd only seen once or twice, like for weddings we attended as guests. Her arm was wrapped around the waist of a tall, broad-shouldered guy in a button-down in khakis. His hand rested on her hip like it lived there. She was smiling at the camera with the same smile she had when she looked at me. On her left hand, gold flashed. A ring. My heart stuttered. I zoomed in. Not a promise ring, not a fashion piece. An engagement ring. The caption, written by someone named Megan Lawson, read, "Bridal shower for my girl Liv. Can't believe my best friend is getting married in December. Maple Grove won the lottery with these two. High school, sweethearts. Osh finally putting ARing on it." I stared at the screen so long my vision blurred. Bridal shower. High school sweethearts. Getting married in December. I scrolled up. Megan had tagged a bunch of people. There was Olivia's tag, Olivia Hayes. When I tapped her name, it took me to a profile I didn't recognize. There was her face in the profile picture. Same smile. But the cover photo was a shot of a lake at sunset, not the Chicago skyline. Her bio read, Maple Grove, born and raised, future Mrs. Daniel Price, dog mom, nurse practitioner, future Mrs. Daniel Price. Under relationship status, it said, engaged to Daniel Price. My ears rang. I backed out of the photo and scrolled. Post after post of small town life. Photos of Olivia in a church choir robe. Olivia at 4th of July fireworks. Olivia at the county fair, holding a giant stuffed bear. Olivia and the same guy, Daniel, on a boat, at a bonfire, in front of a Christmas tree. All with captions like, "My person," and "Can't wait to spend forever with you." The most recent album was titled Engagement Party. I clicked it. There she was in a white dress, kissing Daniel under a gazebo lit up with string lights. Friends and family surrounding them, holding sparklers. Someone had posted a video of him dropping to one knee in the middle of their high school football field, the bleachers full of people cheering. I was not in a single picture. I wasn't even a ghost in this story. My entire body went cold. The notification that had brought me here? I scrolled back up to see who had tagged me. It wasn't Olivia. It was a woman named Bethany Clark, who I didn't know. Her comment on the photo read, "Wait, is this the same Olivia who lives in Chicago? At Jenna Collins, isn't this your girlfriend?" My head swam. I looked at the timestamp. Posted 3 minutes ago. This was happening in real time. The call my first instinct was denial. Maybe it was an old profile she forgot to delete. Maybe these were ancient photos resurfacing. Maybe future Mrs. Daniel Price was some elaborate joke, except the captions had dates. The engagement party was in July, 3 months ago. We were already living together then. I remembered that weekend. She said she was on call at the clinic and had to stay in the city. I dialed her number with shaking fingers. It rang once, twice, then went to voicemail. Hey, it's Liv. Leave a message. I hung up without speaking. Dialed again. Same thing. I texted, Jenna, call me now. The three dots never appeared. I jumped to Instagram. Her main account, the one I knew, was full of our life. Selfies at Lollapalooza, boomerangs of our clinking margaritas, a story highlight titled, Us, full of photos of us at Navy Pier, at Cubs games, on our couch with takeout cartons. No Fiancé, no Daniel, no Maple Grove. I typed into the search bar, Olivia Hayes, Maple Grove. Another account popped up, our Liv Hayes MG, private. Profile picture of her and Daniel. Bio, counting down to 12, 21, or 24. My mouth tasted like metal. The room felt too loud. The TV, the refrigerator humming, a car alarm outside. I silenced the TV, then finally just grabbed the remote and turned it off entirely. I dialed again, straight to voicemail. I opened our text thread and scrolled back reflexively, like the past 2 years could prove me wrong. There were good morning, gorgeous texts, photos of her patients' thank you notes, memes, DoorDash links. I'll be home late. Save me leftovers. My train's delayed. I love you, with too many U's. My last text from her was from that morning. Olivia. Made it in one piece. Mom says hi. I'll probably crash early tonight. Fundraisers are chaos. Love you. Chaos. Yeah, that at least was honest. On autopilot, I called my best friend, Tori. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, I think my girlfriend is engaged to a guy, I blurted. There was a beat of silence. I'm sorry, what? I sent her the Facebook link. I heard her suck in a breath through her teeth. Oh, shit. Tell me this is a deep fake, I said. My voice sounded distant, like I was underwater. Tell me that's not my girlfriend in a bridal shower photo. Tori was quiet for a long moment. I could hear her typing. This profile's been active for years, she said slowly, and all the comments are from the same town. Jenna, this isn't new. I don't understand, I said. She lives with me. Babe, Tori said, her voice gentler now. You know I love you. But I think we have to assume what it looks like it is. What does it look like? That she's been living a double life, Tori said. Queer in Chicago, straight fiancé back home. My chest hurt. I need to talk to her, I said. I need her to tell me there's some explanation. Okay, Tori said, but maybe don't let her spin it before you have all the facts. How do I get all the facts? I whispered. Tori hesitated. Where is she right now? Her hometown, I said. Maple Grove. Some church fundraiser? At least that's what she told me. Check the bridal shower post again, Tori said. Look at the location tag. I did. Bridal shower open near Maple Grove Community Hall. Time. 2 hours ago. She's there, I said. Then if you're going to confront her, Tori said, you go there. You look her in the eye, and you make her tell you which life is real. The thought of getting in my car and driving 2.5 hours to crash my girlfriend's secret bridal shower made my stomach flip. But staying here and pretending I didn't know felt worse. I'm going, I said. Do you want me with you? She asked. For a second I considered it, but this mess was so tangled and intimate that the idea of anyone else in the room felt wrong. I'll call you when I get there, I said. If you don't hear from me in 6 hours, assume I've been murdered by a Midwestern church lady. You know I will absolutely drive there and start a scene if you go dark, Tori said. Text me the address. I ended the call, grabbed my keys, and stuffed my phone charger into my tote bag with hands that didn't feel like they belonged to me. At the door, I paused. Our apartment looked the same as it had that morning. Her sneakers by the door, her hoodie tossed over the back of a chair, a mug with a lipstick ring in the sink. I stared at those ordinary things and realized I was looking at evidence. 4. Maple Grove. The drive to Maple Grove was one long argument between my heart and my brain. My heart said, there has to be an explanation. She loves you. She cooks for you. She holds you when you have nightmares. She came to your office holiday party and made small talk with your weird boss. People like that don't just have secret fiancés. My brain said, people like that do exactly that. That's why there are entire Netflix documentaries about them. I turned off a podcast halfway through because I couldn't focus. Instead, I drove in angry silence, watching the city fall away in the rearview mirror and the suburbs flatten into farmland. Every few miles, I checked my phone at red lights. No missed calls, no texts. I pulled into Maple Grove around 3 p.m. If you've seen one small Midwestern town, you've basically seen them all. There was a main street with a diner, a hardware store, a nail salon, a bank, a big American flag in front of a brick municipal building, a sign boasting about their high school football championship from 2013. My GPS led me to the Maple Grove Community Hall, a low brick building with double doors and a gravel parking lot. There were balloons tied to the railing, white and gold, and a hand-lettered sign that said, Bridal Shower, Olivia and Daniel. My vision tunneled for a second. This wasn't just a weird Facebook glitch. It was real. Her name. His name. Together. In paint. There were still cars parked outside, though fewer than the photo had shown. I sat there for a minute with the engine running, hands gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I could leave. I could drive back to Chicago, pack up her things, change the locks, and send her a picture of the empty closet. But the idea of letting her control the story made something hard inside me snap. She had created a whole version of herself that I wasn't supposed to see. She had edited me out of her little hometown universe like I was a glitch in the footage. No. If she wanted 2 lives, she could juggle them while I watched. I turned off the engine, got out, and walked toward the hall. Inside, the smell of coffee and grocery store sheet cake hit me. Paper streamers sagged from the ceiling. A few older women in floral blouses were clearing tables, scraping plates into trash cans. Someone was stacking folding chairs against the wall. At the center of the room, Olivia stood next to a long table full of opened gifts. Blenders, towel sets, a stand mixer. She was talking to a graying woman who looked like an older version of her, probably her mom. Olivia laughed at something, head thrown back. Her left hand glittered. This close, I could see the ring clearly now. It wasn't huge, but it was delicate and tasteful, the kind of ring you pick out when you're thinking about long-term wear and not just Instagram likes. For a second, I just watched her, frozen in place. She looked different. Not physically, same face, same hair, but there was an ease to her posture I'd never seen in Chicago. Here, she wasn't glancing over her shoulder, making sure she wasn't holding my hand too long in public. Here, she was the center of the room, with everyone orbiting her, like a good small-town fiancé. Then she turned and saw me. The color drained from her face so fast it was almost comical. "Jenna," she choked out. The women around her followed her gaze, eyes landing on me like spotlights. I forced a smile that felt like it might crack my cheekbones. "Hey, Liv," I said. My voice sounded calm and almost friendly. "Thought I'd drop by your little church fundraiser." The older woman's brow furrowed. "Olivia, who is this?" Around us, the clatter of dishes slowed. Conversations died mid-sentence. "This is, Olivia stammered. She looked at me like I was a ghost. "I'm Jenna," I said, sticking out my hand to the older woman. "I live with your daughter in Chicago. If a record scratch could happen in real life, it would have happened right then." The room went so quiet I could hear the air conditioning humming. Olivia's mom blinked, her hand hovering mid-reach for a stack of plates. "You live with her?" she said. Yes, I said. I kept my tone light, like this was all very normal. In Logan Square, third floor walk up, constantly battling the radiators. You should see the lasagna she makes. It's practically a religious experience. A murmur rippled through the room. One of the older women, maybe an aunt, frowned deeply. Olivia, she said. What is she talking about? Olivia swallowed. Her eyes flashed a warning at me. Mom, can we? I cut her off. I drove 2.5 hours to be here, I said. You'll forgive me if I don't wait for the private audience. A man in a button-down shirt and a nice, slightly too shiny belt stepped closer. I recognized him from the photos. Daniel. He had that wholesome, corn-fed look that Midwestern moms love. His face was open and confused. Liv? He said. Who is this? He looked between us, his gaze snagging on the way Olivia and I stood facing each other, the way her body was angled toward me like a magnet. A sick, vicious part of me took a small amount of satisfaction in the way his expression slowly shifted from confusion to dawning dread. Daniel, Olivia said, her voice thin. I can explain. Great, I said. I'd love to hear it too. One of the women coughed. Someone else whispered, Is she? I held up my hand. Let me save you the trouble, I said. I'm her girlfriend. The word hung in the air like smoke. Olivia flinched. Her mom's face went red, then white. Daniel's jaw clenched. That's not funny, Olivia's mom snapped. This is a church hall, young lady. Don't come in here with jokes like that. I laughed once, sharp. Trust me, I said. I'm not joking. I wish I were. I pulled my phone from my pocket and swiped to a photo, then another. Olivia and me, on our couch, tangled in a blanket. Olivia kissing my cheek in front of the beam, our reflections warped and grinning. Olivia half asleep in my t-shirt, hair in a messy bun, smiling at the camera like I was the best thing that had ever happened to her. I held the screen out toward Daniel. She's been living with me for 1.5 years, I said. We share a lease. We share a bed. We share a life. I had no idea she was engaged to you until Facebook told on her. Daniel stared at the photos like they were written in a language he couldn't read. Liv, he said weakly. What is this? Olivia's eyes were huge. Jenna, please, she hissed. Can we talk about this somewhere else? My hands shook, but I was past the point of protecting her comfort. Why? I asked. You've been talking about me behind closed doors for 2 years, apparently. You've been talking to him like I don't exist at all. Seems fair that the truth gets said out loud for once. Her mom grabbed onto the back of a folding chair, knuckles white. Olivia Ann, she said, you tell me this. Woman is lying. Right now. Olivia opened her mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought, I said. For a second, I thought her mom was going to faint. A couple of women nearby shifted closer, as if physically bracing to catch her. Daniel took the phone from my hand, his fingers brushing mine. He scrolled, his face cycling through emotion after emotion. Shock, disbelief, hurt. 2 years, he said slowly. These are date-stamped, Liv. 2 years. I love you, Olivia said to him, desperation edging her voice. You know I do. You're my future. This... She flung a hand in my direction without looking at me. This was... complicated. Complicated? I repeated, my voice rising. You moved into my apartment. You met my friends. You spent Christmas with me in Ohio and told my grandmother you loved my pecan pie. A couple of women in the back tried to usher each other out, whispering frantically. But most of them stayed, eyes locked on us like it was a live-action soap opera. Daniel looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. So what am I, Liv? He asked. Am I the backup? Or is she? You're not a backup, she said, stepping toward him. You're my fiancé. I had this life in Chicago before you. I didn't know how to end it. I laughed again, more bitter this time. You didn't know how to end it? I said. You managed to juggle 2 phones, 2 social media accounts, 2 entire identities, but ending things with me was where you drew the line? She finally looked at me straight on. I care about you, she said. I do. I didn't want to hurt you. You proposed to someone else, I said, while sleeping in my bed. You didn't want to hurt me, but you were okay with lying to me every single day. She flinched. Her mom interjected, voice sharp. Why are you doing this? She barked at me. Why come here and ruin her special day? I turned to her, something inside me going icy. I didn't ruin anything, I said, carefully enunciating each word. I just opened the curtain. Your daughter built this on her own. Maybe you led her astray, she shot back. Maybe you confused her. There it was. I felt something in my chest pop like a bubble. Strangely, once she said it, I felt calmer. We're not doing that, I said. I didn't invent this relationship alone. I didn't Photoshop your daughter into my apartment. She moved into my life. She told me you were complicated. She left out that she was lying to you too. Daniel shook his head slowly like he might wake up any second. How long? He asked again. His voice was hoarse. How long have you been with her? Almost 2 years, I answered, because she clearly wasn't going to. And we've been engaged since March, he muttered. There was a pause. Then he put my phone back in my hand like it burned. I need some air, he said, and walked out the front doors, shoulders stiff. Daniel, Olivia called, starting to follow. On impulse, I stepped into her path. You don't get to chase both of us, I said quietly. Pick a direction. Her eyes blazed. Who are you to tell me what I get? She hissed. You barged into my hometown and humiliated me in front of everyone I grew up with. My eyebrows shot up. Humiliated you? I repeated. You humiliated yourself. I'm just inconveniently visible. We stared at each other, inches apart. In that moment, I realized that the Olivia in front of me was not the same woman who made breakfast in our tiny kitchen and left me sticky notes on my laptop. Or maybe she was. But that version had always been standing on this one's shoulders. Jenna, she said, voice dropping, my parents, this town, they don't understand people like you, like us. I was figuring it out. I just needed time. Time for what? I asked. To marry him and keep me in Chicago as your backup plan? To play straight daughter here and queer in the city until it blew up on its own? Her jaw clenched. You don't know what it's like, she snapped. To grow up here? To have everyone expect one thing from you your entire life? To have a whole town planning your wedding before you even agree to it? I was trying to keep everyone happy. And how's that going? I asked softly. Her eyes shone with angry tears. You don't get to judge me, she whispered. You came from a family that eventually accepted you. You live in a city where nobody even blinks at 2 women holding hands. You don't know what it's like to have everything on the line. I felt the words land, heavy and unfair. Maybe I don't, I said, but I do know what it's like to be lied to. That's not a small town thing. That's a you thing. Behind her, I could see her mom gripping the back of the chair like she might snap it in half. A couple of aunts clutching their purses like talismans. I took a step back. You know what? I said. I'm not here to fix your life. I'm not your secret city girlfriend you can use for practice while you marry your high school sweetheart to make the town happy. I raised my voice slightly, enough for the room to hear. You don't get 2 fiancés, I said. You don't get 2 full-time partners who think they're your one and only. You made a choice. Own it. Then I turned and walked out, my legs shaking so hard I was amazed I didn't trip. 6. Aftermath. Outside, the sunlight felt too bright. I leaned against my car, hands pressed flat to the cool metal, and focused on breathing. In, out, in, out. My phone buzzed. It was Tori. Tori. Alive? Tori. Do I need to show up in a love is love tee and fight someone's aunt? I laughed, a sharp, jagged sound. Jenna. I crashed the bridal shower. Tori. Oh my God. Tori. Are you okay? I typed and erased 3 different answers. Jenna. No. Jenna. But I will be the hall doors opened. Daniel stepped out, alone. He saw me, hesitated, then walked over slowly. Up close, he looked older than in the photos. There were faint lines around his eyes, the kind that come from squinting into the sun over years of football games and outdoor barbecues. I'm not here to yell at you, he said. His voice was flat. I have a question. Okay, I said warily. Did you really not know? He asked. About me? About this? I shook my head. I had no idea, I said. If I had, I wouldn't have signed a lease with her. I wouldn't have let her put her stuff in my dresser. I wouldn't have watched her practice writing her signature like she was bored, not realizing she was trying out how it would look as your wife. He winced. We've been together on and off since high school, he said. Everyone just sort of assumed we'd end up married. When she moved to Chicago, I thought she was getting her big city phase out of her system. Then she came back, and it was like nothing changed. My stomach flipped. What do you mean, came back? I asked. She said she only came home for emergencies, holidays, guilt trips. He snorted. There was no humor in it. She's been here almost every other weekend, he said, sometimes more. We had a whole engagement party at the country club, showers, meetings with the pastor, cake tastings. I thought you were the city roommate she complained about how you never did your dishes and took up all the closet space. I stared at him. She told me there was no one serious, he continued, that she'd dated a bit in Chicago, but it was nothing real. When she talked about going back on Sundays, she called it resetting from the chaos. I thought that meant getting away from you. She told me Maple Grove was suffocating, I said. That she had to get away from everyone knowing her business. That she came back here out of obligation. We stood there, the 2 idiots who thought we were her world, finally looking each other in the eye. I'm sorry, I said quietly, for bursting in like that, for doing this in public. He shook his head. You didn't do this, he said. She did. He looked back at the hall, jaw tightening. I don't know what I'm going to do, he said. My mom's in there crying. Her mom's in there mad enough to chew nails. The pastor's probably getting an emergency call as we speak. I know what I'm going to do, I said. I'm going to go back to Chicago, pack up her things, and figure out who I am when I'm not busy being somebody's secret. He studied me. Do you love her? He asked. The answer came out before I could filter it. Yeah, I said. I did. Maybe I still do in some twisted way. But I don't love this version of her, the one who slices herself into pieces to keep everyone else's expectations met. He nodded slowly. I don't know if I ever really knew her, he admitted. Maybe we were both just in love with whatever part of her our town would accept. We stood there for another moment, 2 strangers bound by the same betrayal. Take care of yourself, Jenna, he said finally. You too, I said. He turned and walked toward a pickup truck, shoulders hunched. I got in my car, started the engine, and sat for a moment, hands on the wheel. Then my phone rang. Olivia. I answered, but didn't speak. Jenna, she said. Her voice was breathless, like she'd been crying. Where are you? In my car, I said, about to drive home. Can we talk? She pleaded. Please, just us. Not my mom, not Daniel, just you and me. I stared straight ahead. There's nothing you can say that's going to make this okay, I said. You didn't just forget to tell me something. You built an entire life on top of me, like I was a foundation you could just repurpose. I was scared, she said. You don't understand what it's like here. Stop saying that, I snapped. I get that this place is complicated for you. I get that your parents' expectations are a cage. But you don't get to use me as a ladder to climb out while you keep the door locked for everyone else. She was silent. I love you, she said finally. You have to know that's real. I felt something in my chest twist. I believe that you loved me, I said, but I also believe you loved him, and I think you loved how each of us let you be a different version of yourself. You just didn't bother to tell either of us we were sharing. Tears pricked at my eyes again. You didn't give me a choice, I whispered. You took away my chance to decide whether I wanted to be part of this. On the other end of the line, I heard a muffled sob. Please don't leave, she said. We can figure this out. I'll call off the wedding. I'll talk to my parents. No, I said, cutting her off. The word felt like stepping over a line drawn in chalk. I'm not going to be the consolation prize because your other life caught fire, I said. I'm not the version you crawl back to when the straight one doesn't work out. Jenna, you chose, I said. You've been choosing for months, maybe years. Today, all I did was hold up a mirror. I took a breath. When you come back to Chicago, I said steadily, your things will be packed. Your name will be off the lease. You can figure out who you are without dragging me through your half-truths. That's not fair, she cried. You can't just erase me like that. Oh, Liv, I said, you've been erasing me this whole time. I hung up before she could answer. Then I put my car in gear and drove away from Maple Grove, the community hall shrinking in my rearview mirror until it was just another brick building in another town that didn't know what to do with people like me. 7. Rebuilding the weeks afterward were a blur of logistics and grief. Tori came over the night I got back, armed with Thai takeout and a 6-pack of hard seltzer. She helped me pull Olivia's clothes off hangers, fold them, and stack them in cardboard boxes. We found love notes tucked into jacket pockets, a ticket stub from our first concert together, a Polaroid of us in front of the Art Institute, cheeks pressed together. Every time we found something like that, my stomach twisted, but we kept going. What if she just shows up? Tori asked, labeling a box with kitchen stuff in Sharpie. I'll be at work, I said. You'll be here. You can hand her the boxes and say, congratulations, you've been evicted from your gay life. Tori snorted. I'm absolutely not saying that, she said, but I will make her carry her own blender. She did show up 2 days later while I was at the office. Tori texted me a play-by-play. Tori. She came. Tori. I handed her the boxes, Tori. She cried. Tori. I did not hug her. Tori. She asked if you talked to her. Tori. I said no. Tori. She took everything. Even the stupid casserole dish. The casserole dish. The one I'd seen in the background of that first damning Facebook photo. The chipped white Pyrex that had lived in our cabinet for a year, like a patient little spy. Good, I thought. Let her have it. Let her bake her lasagnas and casseroles in that dish, and remember that she can't have everything in both worlds. I blocked her number, then unblocked it 3 times just to check if she texted before blocking it again. I muted her on every social media platform. Then I unfollowed. Then I changed my passwords and privacy settings so thoroughly that even the NSA would have trouble tagging me. Nights were the worst. I'd roll over in bed and reach for her out of habit, only to find cold sheets and an extra pillow. I'd catch myself turning to make a joke and realize there was nobody there to hear it. I started going to the gym in the evenings, mostly to fill the time. I hated running, but the treadmill gave me something to aim at, a number ticking up instead of days since my life imploded. Work was weirdly fine. My coworkers knew something was wrong because I showed up one Monday with swollen eyes and a box of personal items from my desk, muttering something about needing a change. My manager gently suggested I take a couple of mental health days. I took one, then went back because sitting alone in my apartment felt like slowly drowning. I told my mom a sanitized version over FaceTime. She lied about a lot of things, I said. I had to end it. My mom's face softened. She never loved Olivia. She thought she was too flaky. But she didn't say, I told you so. For once, she just said, I'm sorry, baby. I know you cared about her. I did something else too. I found a therapist. I'd always thought therapy was for capital T trauma, car accidents, childhood abuse, war zones. But after 3 nights in a row of waking up from nightmares where I was standing in a church in a bridesmaid dress while Olivia married someone else, I realized I might need professional help. The therapist, Dr. Patel, didn't tell me what to do or analyze my dreams into oblivion. She just listened. She let me tell the whole story, from the first night at trivia to the bridal shower to the phone call in the parking lot. You keep saying she made you feel certain things, Dr. Patel said once. She did a huge hurtful thing, but between the lies and your reaction, there's still a space where you have agency. At the bridal shower? I asked. Because it didn't feel like I had a lot of choices once I saw that banner. In everything, she said, you chose to drive there. You chose to confront her in public. You chose not to take her back when she begged. That agency matters. It's how you protect yourself going forward. I thought about that a lot, about the version of me who might have stayed. She would have believed Olivia when she promised to fix everything. She would have let her move back in, would have swallowed her resentment every time a Maple Grove number showed up on Olivia's phone. That version of me was gone. In her place was someone who used words like boundaries without flinching. Someone who could say, no, I won't be your secret anymore, and mean it. 8. New script. About 3 months after Maple Grove, I was at a queer board game night in Andersonville. Tori had practically dragged me there, claiming my sad girl era had an expiration date. The bar was full of laughter and clackety dice, and people arguing over rules in a dozen different games. There was a shelf full of worn boxes, Catan, Ticket to Ride, some complicated indie game with dragons. I sat at a table with a group who were playing a cooperative game where you work together to save the world from a pandemic. Irony, not wasted. Across from me was a woman named Riley with short dark hair, a denim jacket covered in pins, and the kind of easy smile that made people lean in. She was funny, sharp, quick with sarcasm, but never mean. When I accidentally knocked over a stack of cards, she grinned and said, "Wow, thanks for single-handedly tanking humanity, Jenna. Really appreciate it." I rolled my eyes. I've always wanted that on my resume. We lost the game spectacularly. Then we played another, and another. At one point, she glanced at my phone, which had lit up with a notification from a mutual friend's Instagram story. Someone had posted a throwback picture of me and Olivia at Pride. I reflexively flipped it face down. Riley didn't pry. She just raised an eyebrow. "X?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Big time X." "You okay?" she asked. It wasn't nosy. It was a simple question, offered like a chair. "For the most part," I said. Sometimes my brain replays the worst parts like it's binge-watching a drama show I didn't even like. But the volume's getting quieter. She nodded. "I get that," she said. "I dated a girl once who turned out to have a whole secret boyfriend in Milwaukee. Learned a lot about trust. And about Wisconsin men." I blinked. She had a double life too? Yep, Riley said. Queer girlfriend in the city, straight life back home. It's more common than you'd think, unfortunately. Something in my chest loosened. I thought I was the only one dumb enough to miss the signs, I admitted. You're not dumb, she said. You just believe the story you were being told. That's what trust is. It's not a flaw. The flaw is using that trust like a credit card you never intend to pay off. I laughed softly. You sound like my therapist, I said. She sounds smart, Riley said. Later that night, as the bar emptied out and people packed up their games, Riley asked, You coming back next week? Yeah, I said, surprising myself with how certain I was. I think I am. She smiled. Good. It's more fun saving the world with you than without you. I walked home that night under a sky smeared with city light, hands tucked into my jacket pockets. The air was cold enough to bite, but for the first time in a while, I didn't feel brittle. I wasn't better. Healing wasn't a straight line. Some mornings, I still woke up angry. Some nights, I still wondered what script Olivia was reading from now. If she and Daniel had patched things up, if her mom ever forgave her, if Maple Grove treated her like a cautionary tale or a scandal that slowly faded. But the difference was, I no longer centered my life around her choices. My life had its own scenes now. Early morning coffee at the corner cafe, where the barista knew my order. Long walks along the lakefront, with a podcast in my ears. Sunday dinners with friends who showed up because they wanted to, not because they'd been written into some role, and maybe slowly, the possibility of something new with someone who didn't need 2 phones, 2 accounts, and 2 names for love. I still kept that original Facebook screenshot in a locked folder, not because I liked looking at it, but because it reminded me. That day in Maple Grove had been the worst day of my life, and also the day I stepped off a script someone else had written for me. The script where I was the understanding girlfriend who waited patiently in the wings while somebody else chose the easier, straighter path. The script where my queerness was something to be hidden in city apartments and never spoken aloud over sheet cake and coffee. I wasn't interested in that role anymore. So now, when people ask why my last relationship ended, I don't tell the whole saga. I just say, she was living a double life, and I finally decided I only wanted to be in stories where everyone in the room knows who I am. Then I smile, take another sip of my drink, and ask them to tell me about their favorite board game. Because the thing about being a lesbian in America, without the speeches, without the hashtags, without the drama, is that at the end of the day, I want what everyone else wants. Someone who shows up honestly in every version of their life. Someone who doesn't need 2 scripts. Someone who looks at me the same way in Chicago, in their hometown, and everywhere in between, and calls that consistency love, not complication.